People hate working with villagers, but today I'm going to show you a bunch of simple tricks to make all of your villager problems go away. Now you probably know that the easiest way to transport villagers is going to be getting them into a minecart, but a lot of people don't know how to get the villager into the minecart, and that is the first thing I'm going to show you today. The first thing that people always notice about villagers is that they tend to walk away. Well, the easiest way to control the villagers is to just watch where they're walking and drop a boat down. If they don't get in the boat, just give them a gentle nudge and they usually get right in right away. Once you have a villager in a boat, 90% of your problems are solved. The first thing you're going to want to do is lay down some fences, and I usually like to make a box that is 5 on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leaving a little gap down the middle here. Now I'm going to jump into the boat with this villager and just sail up against the wall here, one side. You actually don't need the other side at all. I just find it's a little easier just in case the villager jumps across the track. And of course, that's the next thing we're going to do here. We're going to lay down some track. And that's why I moved the villager forward up against the fence, just so I could lay this track down. I am just going to replace these end 2 blocks with some powered rails and maybe put some stone down and a lever powered on each of these sides. 1 and 2, like that. And then, of course, we're going to put a minecart down right on one of these tracks. And you can see it's just going to jump back and forth. In this case, it actually picked up the villager in the boat. That's not what I want, of course. What I want is the villager out of the boat. And so all I'm going to do is break the boat once we're in the middle. And usually it works a lot better than that. But you see, this is why people hate villagers. That's okay, because we can do this exact same thing again. The best part is we've already done the hard work here. All we got to do is get that villager back into a boat, and now we can sail him back over to this little location and get it set up one more time. Again, we're going to sail right up against the wall, and then we'll jump out of the boat. So what I should have done a minute ago was not actually powered the minecart yet. So one side's powered, the other side is not. I'm going to flip that lever to power this minecart after I get the villager out of the boat. So break the boat. Now the nice thing is the villager will not naturally want to cross this rail. They are trapped in here, so we do have some time to do this. I just have to flip the little switch, and the minecart is going to capture the villager. Nice and easy. Now they're in the minecart, and there's absolutely no more issues. Now that the villager is in the minecart, we need to get them out of the minecart in exactly the right position, and for that we're going to use this magic thing called the Activator Rail. Right there. I've just laid down some extra track here because I wanted to show you how the Activator Rail works. What we're going to do is we're going to apply power to the rail, and now when a minecart comes along with a villager in a minecart, just like that, the villager is going to be popped out of this minecart always to the right. Right over here. This is the square that they're going to end up on, and so it's up to us to figure out the best way to contain the villager on this square. One thing I should mention, this square needs to actually exist. If for some reason you break this square and it doesn't actually exist, that is, it's an invalid block, then the villager might get popped out to the other side, or they might get popped out on any one of these other blocks around it, and that's not a good thing. We want to make sure to control exactly where the villager ends up. So make sure that that block is not broken and that there is a solid block there for the villager to land on. Just before we proceed, I want to show you something really quick here, because when the villager comes along and hits a powered rail, that villager is going to be traveled approximately 11 blocks, 10 or 11 blocks before the minecart slows down. So if we just count it out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then our activator rail is here. We really should have some sort of booster in here just to make sure that the villager does go far enough. So what I'm going to do is just break a couple of these rails here and just add some extra powered rails in here. Now, with multiple powered rails, they're going to go slightly farther than 11 blocks. It's not always like multiplied or anything like that, but usually I like to go with about 10 blocks, 10 or 11 blocks, and then put more than one rail here just to make sure that the villager can actually travel far enough. The other thing to mention is that an empty minecart won't go as far as a minecart with a villager in it. So when you're testing this, if your empty minecart makes it or just makes it, then you know with a full minecart it will actually make it completely. Alright, back over here to the activator rail. I want the villager to land on this square right here, so I'm just going to add a couple blocks here, some glass, just to contain the villager. that will stop them from walking out on any of the sides, but they could still technically walk out onto the rail, even though Villager's AI kind of prevents them from walking over rails. You can't 100% rely on this every time. So the way to fix this is by putting up 2 temporary blocks right here, and then a trapdoor right at this level. So you can see it's not above, it is at the top of the second block. Now what's interesting about this, if I break these 2 blocks, is that the player can walk directly under this, but a villager cannot. Villagers are just slightly taller than players, and so once they get popped into this spot right here, they won't be able to come out. So now just to be clear, what's going to happen is that the villager is going to travel along this rail. They're going to get to the point where this activator rail will kick them off into this spot right here, and they should be trapped in here with the minecart continuing along the way. So let's actually see that in action. I'll flip this lever to power the rail. Here comes the villager, and boom, right into that spot. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. So now let's say just for fun that I have a second villager, or maybe multiple villagers, and I want to set up a sort of trading hall where I have multiple slots that I want to fill. You can see that I've set up 2 here, one before the villager that I've placed before, and one after the villager that I've placed before. What do you think is the best way to do this? Well, I'll tell you right now, you never want to place a villager before another villager that you've already placed, because there is something really funny that's going to happen. When the minecart comes along with this villager in it, and the villager gets deposited out of this spot into this spot right here, the empty minecart will continue. And guess what happens when it passes by this villager? It would pick him right up and carry him along. What's interesting though, in this exact scenario that I have set up right here, what'll happen is that the minecart will come along, deposit the first villager in this slot, pick up the second villager from this slot, and then because I have another rail set up here, deposit that villager in this slot, so we'll end up with an empty slot here. Okay, let's watch that happen. Here we go. Flip the lever. Here comes the villager. Off along. Popped out. And so in this case, it didn't actually pick up that first or that second villager. This doesn't always happen, but because the villager is slightly farther back in the block, it actually didn't grab him at all. So it's not 100% reliable that a minecart going by will pick up the villager. If you want to make it 100% reliable, there is a way to do that, and it'll just involve a little bit of water. So I've added a little bit of extra glass out the back here, and I'll show you what that's for in a second. In this case, I'm going to make sure that this villager is kind of pushed a little bit further back because I don't want to pick him up. I want to pick this guy up and move him over into this slot. So what I want to do is just make sure this guy is as forward as possible against the rail. And in order to do that, I'm just going to put a little bit of water right in here. So I moved it back a few blocks here just so you can see that it is pushed him right up against the rail. Now the timing here is going to be critical because we want to make sure that the minecart comes along at exactly the time when he is down, and hopefully that just works first try without too much effort. But let's give it a try. I'm going to put that minecart down, give it a little bit of a push, and there it is. He's been picked up because he was pushed up against the rail and then deposited exactly where we want him. So this is a great way to move villagers around between slots. All right, so we have one more empty slot that we want to make sure we get a villager in. We have a villager in a minecart ready to put in that slot. Are we ready to just send him along and kick him into this slot? Well, if you're saying, no, there might be an issue here, you are 100% correct. When that minecart comes along with the other villager in it, it's going to pass by this one and nothing's going to happen. 2 villagers can't get in a minecart, so we have no issue whatsoever. This villager, even if he was pushed up right against this rail, will not try to get into the minecart with the other villager. When we get to this spot, we are going to kick the villager out, always to the right, and he'll end up perfectly in this spot, but then the empty minecart will proceed and has a possibility of picking this villager up, and that is something that we don't want. So how do we prevent that? Well, it's actually pretty easy. All we got to do is stop the minecart from getting to this villager. So I'm just going to put in a block or a couple temporary blocks. I don't even need that second block. I've got a temporary block here that's going to interrupt the minecart when it gets to this spot. The minecart will just sit here, kick this guy over, and will not pick him back up again. So let's just watch that happen. Here we go. Flip the switch. Here comes the minecart with the villager. He's kicked over, and the minecart is just going to sit there waiting for us to come along and break it. Now we have all of our villagers in place, ready to create a villager trading hall. There are a couple other ways of moving villagers around, one of which is using a workstation and the other is using a bed. I just wanted to make sure that I included them in this video because they are definitely viable options for you, although they can still be quite tricky to get right. For example, if I want a villager to follow me, I've just broken this guy out of his little cage here, and I'm going to put down a lectern and hope he comes right over to it. Is he going to come over to it? He is. What's interesting is that this guy did pick up the lectern, but what happens often, especially if you have a lot of villagers around, is that when I put down a lectern, and I'm going to show it to you right here, you can see that neither of these two guys claimed it because they can't get to it. But if I break this lectern, you'd think this guy would be able to come and claim it now, but he can't. He can't because the lectern has actually been claimed by one of the other two villagers. You just can't see that because there's no visual indication that that has happened. Instead, what you sometimes have to do is put down more than one of these little things. Hopefully, the villager will come and claim one. And you can see, so he just claimed this one. So now, this villager is associated with this lectern, and we should be good to go. If I move another lectern further away here, I'm going to put this one down, and I'm going to break this one, and hopefully this guy will come claim it if one of the other ones hasn't. They can claim lecterns pretty far away, so what's happened, see, is that he hasn't claimed it because probably one of the other two guys has already claimed it, even though he can't see it. If I break this lectern and place it down again, he still might not be able to claim it. But if I put down 3 lecterns because I have 3 villagers, he's definitely going to pick one because a villager cannot claim more than one workstation at a time. So this one clearly was the empty one, so that's the one we need to use. This exact same trick works with a bed. If I place down a bed, the villager's going to try to claim it. You will see the green particle appear over their head to see which villager has claimed the bed. So let me try that again. I'm just going to put one down right over here. And this time, this time that villager claimed it. Let's try one more time here. And this time this guy claimed it. So you can see that he has actually claimed this bed. So this is an easy way to move villagers. However, they won't actually go to the bed until nighttime. So you do have to be aware of that as well. So hopefully the tricks I've shown you today in this video will help you with all of your villager transportation needs. I do make videos like this quite regularly, so feel free to subscribe to this channel and check out all of the tutorials I have. I also play on an SMP, so there's lots of great content for you to check out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye!